Once, a very long time ago, there lived a man named Moses. He was a kind and brave leader. Moses was chosen by God to do a very important job. He had to lead his people, who were called the Israelites, out of a land called Egypt. The Israelites were not happy in Egypt. They were slaves, which meant they had to work very hard for the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, and they were not free. God saw that his people were sad and wanted to help them. He told Moses to be their guide and lead them to a new home, a special land that God had promised them. Moses listened to God. He was a little bit scared, but he was also very brave. He went to the Pharaoh and told him, "God says to let my people go." At first the Pharaoh said no, but God showed his great power, and finally the Pharaoh agreed. Moses led all of the Israelites out of Egypt. It was a very long journey. They walked across a big desert, and they even crossed a giant sea that God parted for them. Moses was a true hero, always listening to God and taking care of his people every step of the way on their incredible adventure to freedom. The journey was long, and sometimes the people felt tired and lost. They needed rules to help them live together peacefully and to remember that God was always with them. They needed a guide not just for their feet, but for their hearts. Moses knew that God would provide everything they needed. He led them to the bottom of a huge tall mountain called Mount Sinai. This was a very special mountain. It was here that God would give his people a gift that would help them for all time. The people gathered at the foot of the mountain, waiting to see what would happen next. Everyone looked up at the giant mountain. They knew something amazing was about to happen. Moses was their leader, the one who spoke to God for them. He had brought them out of slavery and kept them safe in the wilderness. Now, he was about to go and meet with God again. The people trusted Moses. They had seen the amazing things God could do, and they were ready to listen. This was a big moment for everyone. They were no longer slaves but a free people, and now they would learn how to live as God's special family, with rules to keep them safe and happy. God called to Moses from the very top of Mount Sinai. He told Moses to come up the mountain all by himself. As Moses started to climb, a big, dark cloud came down and covered the whole mountain. The people watching from below could not see the top anymore. Suddenly, there were bright flashes of lightning that lit up the sky like giant camera flashes. Then came the sound of loud booming thunder that shook the ground. It was a little scary, but it was also amazing. It showed everyone just how powerful and great God is. The people knew that God was truly there on the mountain. Moses was not afraid. He kept climbing higher and higher, disappearing into the thick cloud. He was going to talk with God. Moses stayed on the mountain for a very long time. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights. While he was there, God spoke to him. God did not have a body like a person, but Moses could hear his voice. God told Moses all the things he wanted his people to know. He gave Moses instructions on how to be good to each other and how to love God with all their hearts. This was a very special and secret meeting just between God and Moses. During this time, God gave Moses a very special gift for the people. He took 2 big flat pieces of stone, like 2 giant tablets. With his own power, God wrote 10 special rules on these stone tablets. These were not just any rules. They were the most important rules for all the people to follow. They were rules about how to love God and how to be kind and fair to everyone else. God knew that these rules would help the Israelites build a happy and peaceful community in their new home. These were God's top 10 rules for living a good life. After 40 days and nights, Moses came back down the mountain. He was carrying the 2 heavy stone tablets in his arms. The people were so happy to see him again. When they saw the stone tablets, they were filled with wonder. They knew these were not just Moses' rules. They were rules that came straight from God. The thunder and lightning had stopped and the cloud had lifted. Now it was time for Moses to share God's special message with everyone. The people gathered around, quiet and ready to listen to the important words God had given them. Moses stood before all the people and held up the stone tablets. He told them, "God has given us these rules to help us live. They are called the 10 Commandments." Moses read each one so that everyone could hear. The very first rule was the most important. God said, "You should only worship me. Do not have any other gods." This meant that the people should always remember that there is only one true God who loves and protects them. The second rule was like the first. Do not make statues or idols to worship, because nothing they could make could ever be as great as God. Next, Moses shared the rules about showing respect for God. The third rule was, be careful with my name, use it with love and respect. This means people shouldn't use God's name in a mean or careless way. The fourth rule was a special one about rest. God said, remember to keep one day of the week special for me. This is a day for rest and for thinking about God. This day is called the Sabbath. It was a gift from God so that people and their animals could have a day off from all their hard work and remember what is truly important in their lives. Then Moses read the rules about how to treat other people. The fifth commandment was, honor your father and your mother. This means to love and respect your parents who take care of you. The next rules were very clear and helped everyone stay safe. The sixth rule was, you shall not murder, which means never to hurt or kill another person. The seventh rule was about keeping families strong. Be faithful to your husband or wife. And the eighth rule was simple and fair for everyone. You shall not steal. This means you should never take something that doesn't belong to you. The last two rules were about being honest and happy with what you have. The ninth commandment was, you shall not tell lies about other people. It is always important to tell the truth and not say things that could hurt someone else. And the 10th and final rule was, do not be jealous of what other people have. This means to be happy with your own things and not wish that you had your friend's house or toys. When Moses finished reading all 10 rules, the people understood. They all shouted together, everything the Lord has said, we will do. They made a promise to follow God's special rules. The 10 Commandments were a wonderful gift for the Israelites. These rules were like a map to help them find their way. They helped everyone know the difference between right and wrong. When people followed the rules, everyone was treated with kindness and respect. The commandments helped them to build a strong and happy community where people could trust each other. They were no longer just a group of people who had escaped from Egypt. They were now God's people, united by His loving laws. Following these rules was their way of saying thank you to God for saving them and taking care of them. These rules helped the Israelites live together in peace for many, many years. They passed them down from parents to children so that every new generation would know how to live in a way that pleased God. The stone tablets were kept in a very special, holy box so that everyone would remember their importance. Whenever people forgot the rules and started to argue or be unkind, their leaders would remind them of the promises they made at Mount Sinai. The commandments were a constant reminder of God's love and the best way to live together as a family. Even though God gave these rules to Moses thousands of years ago, they are still just as important for us today, on June 15, 2025. They are not just for the Israelites who lived long ago, they are for everyone, everywhere. Rules like do not steal, do not tell lies, and honor your parents help us be good friends, family members, and neighbors. They help make our schools and our towns safe and happy places to live. They are simple, powerful instructions for living a good and honest life, no matter who you are or where you come from. So, the story of Moses on Mount Sinai teaches us a very important lesson. It teaches us that God loves us and wants us to be happy and kind to one another. The 10 Commandments are like a loving letter from God, showing us the best way to live. By trying our best to follow these simple rules, we can show our love for God and for the people all around us. They are a timeless guide to being a good person, just as true today as they were on that incredible day when Moses brought them down from the thundering mountain.